little 11-hour flight later, and we were in Japan. It was time to have the best trip of our lives. I'm not joking. I had the most incredible trip and got to do things I won't ever forget. And I won't, because I've now plastered it onto the internet forever. We landed midday Japan time, so we decided to go to the first thing we wanted to see while abroad. Japanese McDonald's. I couldn't order anything except fries, but Jacob and I both dropped our jaws when we saw something called the Double Big Mac on the menu. I thought Americans already went big with the Big Mac, but Japan did the impossible, just to send a message. What a magical place. They also served us a really special lunch of super fancy bento boxes. Like, so fancy that the host was like, dude, I've never even had these bento boxes before. I was super excited, but I don't mean to be ungrateful or wasteful, but the box was full of super fancy, complicated fish and seafood. I knew going to Japan I'd have to be flexible with food because it's really hard to be vegan or even vegetarian there, so I really tried to eat as much as possible and look thankful. But yeah, I struggled a lot. But I still had a great time and it was an honor. It was funny, one of the people in our group asked how they chose which Pokemon to make cards for. A good question. And then followed it up with, I really like Mantike, but there's only 2 Mantike cards that exist. And the assistant pulled up a list of all the Pokemon Mantike cards that have ever been created. And sure enough, there were only 2. The director chuckled and was essentially like, yeah, sometimes Pokemon get lost in the cracks. We kind of just make cards of Pokemon I like. For example, my favorite Pokemon is Gengar. And you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense. Also, we were able to have a Q&A session with the Pokemon card art director and 3 artists who actually draw art for the cards. That was super interesting and I was so incredibly inspired by that discussion. But you know those Pokemon cards with the super cute clay art? That artist's name is Yuka Mori, and she was in that panel. I was so starstruck. Those are some of my favorite Pokemon cards. And not only that, but she hosted a little workshop for us where she gave us clay and taught us how to make little clay Magnemites like in this card here. Speaking of this card, she brought the actual original Magnemite for us to see. That was by far the coolest thing that I've ever gotten to be a part of. We got to meet a piece of genuine history. I felt like I was meeting the president. Also, here's me and Jacob's Magnemites that we made. Also in the mall were tons of Pokemon monitors straight up playing the World Championships. TCG, Pokemon Go, VGC. Japan treated Worlds like it was the Super Bowl. And it was just so cool to see one of my main interests so culturally celebrated. People of all ages would stop by to watch for a bit before going back to their shopping. I can't explain it, but it just made me very happy. We even got to see Wolfie live on the monitors. How'd he do? He did great. Don't worry about it. Nothing happened. Look, we were just happy to see our friend on the Pokeball screen. Proud of you, Wolfie. You're so cool. The second day of Worlds was hype. So hype that we left Yokohama and flew to Osaka. I haven't mentioned it yet, but we actually got tickets to see the one and only Hatsune Miku live in concert. The real ones know how huge that is for me. I want to talk about how life-changing that was, but I'm gonna make a whole separate video about that experience I'll be posting next. All I'm gonna say is it was the best day of my entire life. By a lot. Subscribe now before you miss it, just saying. I will mention we did have to take the train to get back later that night and got super lost again. And we never get better at it. Don't expect anything to change in that regard. We did finally get back to Yokohama, crashed for the night, and had a nice slow morning as we got ready for finals later that day. I know I've been complaining about the weather here and there, but my lord, it was miserably scorching. Japan has such a big culture around staying cool while outside, and I totally get it now. People would be walking around with little fans, ice packs, towels. A lot of women had parasols. I'll say, if we didn't get those towels, we probably could have passed out from heat stroke that day. Later on, I even ended up getting another towel. It was a cute Pikachu one, but I got it mainly because it was a cloak design. After soaking that thing in cold water and putting it on, my body temperature instantly lowered like 5 degrees. However, that meant I was walking around the park looking like this. We started buying all the stuff we window shopped for as we waited for the One Piece live show to begin. Again, please refrain from judging. I am being vulnerable and open here. By the way, as we were walking around, we stumbled onto a little Mario-themed show just out in a courtyard area. They played some fun little custom songs and had all these dancers alongside the mascots. And then out of nowhere, they started absolutely blasting the crowd with like gallons of water. I didn't even see it coming. It was like firefighters showed up to put out a giant giant fire, except the fire was a bunch of Japanese people. They were very silly, but there was a little pigeon holding up symbols, and I really wanted to get him for Jordan and Kelsey. In went the coins. Tiger, elephant, fox. It was happening again. Everything except the one I wanted. Which I know more or less that's the luck with gachas, but it was getting to the point where I was getting surprised the pigeon was dodging me as much as it was. Surely the next one. What? The magic twins Linny and Lynette decide to take us to the opera house, but on the way there, we're actually stopped by the Hydro Archon herself, Farina. Welcome, travelers, to my city of Fontaine. Everyone give them a warm welcome. They're fierce and noble warriors who have done much good for the land and its people. Hey, thanks, it's really nothing. We just tamed a giant dragon. Actually, I hereby declare the traveler under arrest for having a flying object, which is illegal. What? She's not even... Paimon doesn't count because she's a balloon. Yeah, Paimon's my balloon. Ha! Alright, that's funny. Case dismissed. Later. So, can we ride the aquabus? Yippee! We get there, walk into the convention center, and a blast of Hatsune Miku hits us. Giant Miku statues and posters, booths stocked with Miku merchandise, almost everyone dressed head to toe in Miku clothes. I saw people with Hatsune Miku suitcases to hold all the Miku things they were buying. I immediately wanted to run around and look at everything all at once. There were multiple times where Jacob lost me because I just started walking off in different directions like a Miku moth. Quackity half-jokingly asked Analdino if he wanted to play rock, paper, scissors instead, to which he replied, no. Which, you know, fair. But 3 hours into this single game, the two of them were neck and neck. Genuinely the most cracked round of Jenga possibly ever. Everyone in the cube was gathered around watching Quackity slowly pulling out the very last piece in this skeleton of a Jenga tower. Just as he was about to make it, Analdino asked, rock, paper, scissors? Quackity looked up at him. Muito tarde. It was over. Analdino tried to hang in there, but in the end, he fell. 18 people were now eliminated. Alright, it's 3 a.m. Let's go to bed. It was the safest play. If it said eliminated, then good. I dodged a bullet. If it was safe, then at least I'm not actually eliminated yet. I just have to play again. Shit. It was now my turn to bring someone up. Even though I didn't want to pick a friend out of fear of getting them eliminated, more than that, I didn't want to be up there with someone I didn't know. I picked Quackity. He came up to the podium. I grabbed case number 2. It says safe. My plan was to tell the truth, but in the most unconfident and nervous way possible. Later on during the challenge, Mac and Nolan from the Beast team came up to ask what we were making. At the time, I was grating up Feastables to sprinkle onto our cake for decoration, and I thought, oh, it would be funny to have them ask what we're making, and it's just their own brand of chocolate. So I was like, close your eyes and open your mouth, and gave Mac a piece of chocolate, and immediately without chewing, he was like, is this Feastables? And I was like, yeah. And he kind of stood there for a second with his mouth still open. And Nolan was like, oh, he's allergic. And they both had to leave. Oh my god, guys, I felt so bad. I apologized so much when he came back. Max said it was fine and was a good sport about it, but I still have so much guilt about being such an idiot. Amidst trying to keep up with the conversation, strategize, and hold myself together, I couldn't find my win con. But with a few minutes left, Amixem said something that I think shifted the entire game. What are the odds Jaiden pulled the million case twice? There it was. Gambler's fallacy, save me. Save me, gambler's fallacy. I couldn't mess this up. I don't know what to say to that one. Everyone's attention was now on me, and I could tell they were all thinking about what was just thrown into the ring. We all looked down at our papers. I wrote my name as quietly as possible, worrying the sound of the letters were gonna out me. First of all, top 5 all agreed that whoever won the million would give the other 4 100k each to do something for their subscribers too. So a total of 400k will be going to Ludwig, Alex Botez, Amixem, and Nick DeGiovanni. With the remaining 600k, I decided to put it towards paying for as many people's art degrees as possible. It's really scary going into into the art field right now, between the animation industry hitting their rough patches, AI threatening to take artists' jobs, the overall career path is extremely intimidating and difficult to break into. I'd really like to encourage and make it easier for some of the up-and-coming artists by being able to send them through art school stress-free.